Hello, it's Sunday night. We are 7 minutes past 9. It's London, UK. It's a bit cooler here from last week, thank the Lord. And how was your week? Did you have a good one? I hope you did. Mine was pretty busy. So here we are. It's Sunday. It's coming out live, as I say, from London, UK. And I'm going to bring in my beautiful, gorgeous co-host from Virginia, the very hot and steamy Virginia, the lovely Val. Hello, love.
Hello. Yes, it's very hot here.
Are you all hot and steamy?
I am, and not in a good way.
Well, we're talking about the right subject tonight for that,
True.
aren't we? We're talking about great expectations, and it's a subject that you and I have been wanting to talk about for a while, because being the fact that we're of a certain age these days,
We're mature.
We're mature ladies. Literally, it's about, this is a subject which a lot of girls in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s can all turn around and go, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, Val, but when I was younger, it wasn't really talked about some of the problems and difficulties that goes with, sex and all that intimacy in your sort of later years. It wasn't really talked about. It's like you'll get hot flashes and night sweats, but no one tells you about all the other stuff.
Yeah, it's, and I was having this conversation with my girls not long ago, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to continue to tell you guys, because I have 2 daughters, what's going to happen, because nobody told me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that, when you hit that age, that menopause age, it literally, smacks you upside the head. It doesn't come on gradually, and you wake up and you're like, damn, what happened? Because yesterday this wasn't happening. And today, yeah. So I intend I intend on telling my girls, yeah, what they can look forward to.
When did you start to have issues? When did you notice changes in your body?
When I hit 50. When I hit 50, it was like, okay, goodbye everything that used to happen and the way I used to look, and hello,
yes,
this person I don't recognize.
It's so, hi Keith, hi Carlene. It's so true, isn't it? Because nobody warned you what's going to happen. For me, it was very different. I have absolutely, I was trying to have children. I was in my, they put me on the IVF waiting list at 32, and they took me off at 38. By the time they took me off at 38, everything was pretty much over. And that's their fault. And literally, although I miscarried twice after that, they said to me that was a miracle that happened. It was a fluke, a miracle. Sometimes the body's ending of doing things. But I was kind of in my late 30s going into my early 40s when I noticed these things happening, and I felt like I was going to combust. I was in so much heat that I would be doing something and I'm like, I'm on fire. I'm literally on fire.
It literally feels like the bones in your body are melting, and it's the heat coming from the inside out.
Yeah.
And no amount of standing in the freezer or standing in front of a fan is going to make it go away. It just,
No.
you can't make it go away.
And the thing is, it comes on without any warning. 1 minute, and then, you know, 1 minute you're just fine. The next minute you're sweating. You can't sleep. You've got insomnia. You've got night flushes. Your emotions are all over the place. You're crying your eyes out, or you're argumentative, or you're stopping your car in the street, going, you know, having a go at people. You start to turn into someone else. And one of the things is your sex drive. 1 minute your sex drive can be all there and revving to go, and the other one is your sex drive is going, or at least has gone to a low. And this can happen. I mean, they talk about men going through a menopause as well, but for mine it was like I was dead from the waist downward. There was nothing going on. There was just like nada, zilch, nothing. And it was kind of like you find all those things that the doctor tells you might want to try this, or you might want to try that. You know, this will help you with sex. It'll make it less painful, etc., etc. And all of a sudden, from being this rampant woman that's like, let's do this, let's go, you're kind of like, wait a minute, wait. No, stop. Do you know what I mean? Where I'm coming from with that?
Yeah, I know I know what you're saying. Now, I was not necessarily, I didn't necessarily lose my libido.
Yeah.
It was kind of overpowered. You know, it's almost like, okay, I want to go to town. I just do not feel like going and getting in the car and driving there.
That's right.
So it was the other things really that kind of just overpowered that. It never really went away. It was just, you know, the not necessarily pain from sex, but the insomnia, the everything that goes along with it was just overpowering. It was just, it's easier to not do anything than it is to try to force myself to do something, even if I want to do it, because it's just so tiring.
And all of those positions that we once could be, you know, like yoga positions, we could put ourselves in with our hand, you know, hands behind our head, or a leg here, or whatever. Suddenly it becomes a little bit harder to do them, because you're like, oh, back, pain.
Well,
pain.
you know, I used to lay like this and watch TV. And now if I lay like that, I can't feel my arm. And I'm like, okay, let's not do that.
Yeah, and it's the same, because a lot of younger guys want to date older women because they think we've got our stuff together, we've been there, done it, ticked it off. Right. It's the whole, we talked about last week, that whole sugar mama thing, and yet we're going through our own stuff right now. We're just like, listen, you may not want to do this.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain nobody would want to live with me right now. I mean, visit, okay. But after a while, they're going to be like, you're crazy, and I'm leaving.
Yes.
Because I can't help it.
No. And the thing is, sex, you know, I think there's this thing that you spend half of your life for the first part of your life not wanting to get pregnant, because you're in your teens and early 20s, and you kind of just have some sort of life. So you spend half of these years not wanting to get pregnant, and then you spend, if you want to go down that road, you spend the rest of your life trying to get pregnant, and worrying about it, and it's constant sex. We've got to do it now. We've got to do it now. There's a window. I'm fertile. Let's do this. And wanting to get pregnant and becoming like an absolute sex then becomes like,
well, it comes like a job.
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
come and do it in this position. We're doing this now. But then once that's gone, you think, well, I'm going to be all right now. I don't have to worry about pregnancy. I can have great sex and I don't need to worry about this, that, and the other. You still have to worry about STDs, but you don't have to worry about pregnancy. And then just when you think it's perfectly safe, menopause is like, hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
You get like a couple years of like, man, I'm free. And then it's like menopause hits you in the head and you're like, damn. You know, it's
it is.
Yeah. Now I got to go through all this other crap.
And the thing is, sex changes as well after a certain age, because I don't know about you, but when we were a little bit younger, there was a lot of passion and drive and lust. And I'm not saying that it's not there in the 50s and 40s, but I don't know about you, I'm wanting something that's more substance, somebody who's got more substance rather than just a great looking body, and part of my expression of saying it, but a great dick. You want more than that. You just want more than that.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's true of men as well. Not as much. Because I think it comes to a point where men are like, okay, I don't have to worry about anything now.
Yep.
So I can just, do what I want to do. But
so while Val is absolutely having a sneezing thing, I'm just going to bring up that apparently sex has no expiration date.
Sorry.
The idea is to expand the idea of what good sex is.
Right.
And a lot of older adults are saying we're having the best sex of our life. And let's look at some of the reasons for that. One of them for women is HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Now, not everybody can take that. I'm in one of those categories where I could, maybe, should do. They're still working that out. But when it becomes like the desert down below and everything is just, it's not working for a guy, it's not working, and your libido's sore, arthritis is kicking in, your bad back, sore joints, how do you get past that and have a good sex life? Because sometimes you can't take HRT and they go, oh, well, that's it now. The only thing left for you is lube. That's it. That's all you've got, the option. And you're like, suddenly I don't feel sexy anymore. Suddenly I don't feel like just be, what's the word, impromptu.
Yeah. Well, I was on HRT for years. And just for the past couple years, my doctors took me off of it.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the age of menopause, and it's better if you're not on it after, menopause. Because I was on it since, I can't remember when it was that I had a hysterectomy. So I had to be on it, which also threw me into menopause. So I've actually had it twice, one not so natural, and then this one, which is kicking my ass, which is natural menopause. But
do you think it's made a difference?
It has, as far as the night sweats and the hot flashes and the kind of mood imbalance, moodiness. But as far as libido it hasn't changed anything.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed anything other than all the other stuff impacts, the want to.
Yeah, because it's like me. I'm expecting, if I go on HRT, to all of a sudden going, this is great, I'm 25 again, and I because there are, as we get into our 40s and 50s, sex is challenging, because such things as painful intercourse, difficulty, for a gentleman, for it to stay up and work. And if you don't get this, if you don't talk about it, if you actually don't sort it out, it will alter the course of your life and your relationships and your sex life, because some people think that if they have a problem in that department, sex is over. Like, I can't do this anymore. It's just too painful. I'm not interested. And relationships.
But I think a lot of it is embarrassment.
Yes.
Because you don't want people to think something's wrong with me. Even though, unless you are seeing, people that are a lot younger than you that don't understand that when you get older, things change.
It's old.
But if you're, most mature adults know that shit happens.
Yeah.
And your body changes, and there's nothing that you've done. It's just the way it is.
Although we're not taught about it in school.
Right.
I mean, I never got any sex education much at school. It was like, here's a frog, here's a rabbit, and this is what you're going to have, these things called periods, blah 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 blah. That was it. And obviously I'm going back to the 70s, and yet that's as much as we got. Now I guess it's a completely different ball game, but no one talks for women about what we've got to expect. My mother told me about it, and I'd heard friends talk about it, but until I was actually in it, having it, I didn't know. And I think for men as well, and we'll talk with a couple of guys later on to see exactly what it is for them, but in their 50s, most still feel, I've got it, I'm vigorous, let's do this, But sometimes, even in the best will in the world, he doesn't want to play ball, or he may not be as once, up there like he was before.
Right. But I think a lot of times men feel inadequate when they can't do that. But they need to realize that women, we understand and we don't care. I mean, not that we don't care about them, it's that we don't care, it doesn't change our way of feeling about them if things happen, because things happen. And I can remember being in sex ed when I was in high school and sitting beside of one of my good friends who was pregnant. So, I mean, it was kind of we had a giggle out of that because they were talking about contraceptives and things like that. And I look at her and she's like, I think it's too late for me, but we did have it, but it wasn't, okay, girls, this is what happens after.
Yeah.
It was all about the present and the near future. It was never about, this is what's going to happen to your body later.
Sure.
I was never told anything about that. You kind of have to figure that out on your own.
Obviously for these days, I want to go into other parts of sex in their 50s, 40s, 50s, but looking at just the menopause bit for now. If you go and see your doctor, they'll offer you vaginal estrogen cream. But of course, there's a lot of fears over that because it can give you breast cancer. There have been some people that have taken that cream and it's given them breast cancer. But apparently, it's supposed to stay just in that area. But and that's the sort of thing they offer you. And then obviously, you're talking about the patch or the gel. Estrogen, I think it's estrogen gel and progesterone tablet or something like that. And I think that you need to go and talk to a doctor that's actually really up on menopause, because if you don't, you're going to end up literally losing the pleasure of, well, I don't feel like a female, I don't feel feminine, I don't feel sexy. And I still think that's a waste, because just because you get older doesn't mean that you don't want to have sex.
But I know we've talked about this before, but the way your body changes and you have no control over it, to be perfectly honest, when I hit menopause, I think I gained weight in like a month, you know, and before I would gain some and then lose it, and and now it's like, yeah, it's not going anywhere. You know, it's
That's the thing, isn't it? The cortisol.
but it makes you feel like a totally different person, like someone that's not attractive, that
That's right.
that who would want to look at that? Um, it makes you feel a certain way. And even if that's not the
Yeah.
truth, it's still in your mind, that's how it makes you feel because you don't look like you used to.
And it doesn't help. And it doesn't help when someone goes, yeah, but you are sexy. You look sexy. You're like, that's not helping. I don't
Yeah,
feel sexy.
you're like, shut
It's in
up,
here.
I've got a mirror.
Yeah, like
I can see
that's
myself. And even when I look in the mirror, I don't feel or look like myself to me.
Yeah.
I look different to myself. And that puts a big strain on your mentality.
I think it's probably safe to say as women as well in their 40s and etc. outward, some just lose through health conditions, through stress
Sure.
in the relationship, through money worries, through having kids, through working long hours. The sex drive goes, and
Yeah.
their partner says she's always tired. She never wants to do it. If she does want to do it, it's like, hurry up and get it over and done with. I've got to get up early in the morning. And
Right.
I hear about a lot of people that stay with people, or stay with partners, I should say, and they're living celibate lives. They're living
Yeah.
celibate lives because literally they're not having sex. They don't want to break up, or they can't break up a relationship due to money or children or whatever. And they've been with this person perhaps for a long time. They don't know anybody else. What do you do?
Well,
I've been with this person 15 years and now they don't want me anymore. Where am I going to go?
I think it turns into roommates. You're pretty much roommates.
Yes.
You may still love each other, and you may, they may think you're the most beautiful person in the world, but you get so comfortable, and it's almost like you start out as friends, then you go through this lover marriage, and then turn into roommates, and then it's just, yeah, I love them, but we're pretty much just friends now.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes through those stages.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of couples have gone through those stages where it's like, let's just watch a movie and go to sleep because we're both so tired,
Yeah.
and it's a comfortable
Yes.
relationship. It's
And there's
not
nothing
that
wrong with
exciting and all that. And no, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think most people go through that.
If you both want it, there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Right.
But I think
Exactly.
it's also a state of mind. And I do think it's very important we look at, from a mental point of view, to actually, you may not consider yourself sexy anymore, whether you're male or female. You may turn around and think, well, I'm just not sexy anymore. I just don't feel it, and it's like getting back into that mindset. And then of course of that, if you've got, and years ago we talk about these subjects and people would snigger, but actually there are women and guys walking around today going through these problems, and this is one of the reasons why we wanted to look at it. Like, I mean, let's if any, when you talk about vaginal dryness, it feels like you are being, and I mean ripped apart. It's horrible. And I think that if a guy had that, there is, he may then, pull back and go, oh, I'm not sure that might, it's hurt. And women try and I know many women that just, oh, I'm trying to cope with it, and we're using this, we're using that, and then afterwards I'm in pain, or I get a UTI afterwards, which is very common because everything's so thin now, and that's why
Yeah.
you need the cream to plump everything up. So there is this whole, and then the guy's going, what's wrong with you? You never want me anymore. It's just, it's not happening. Literally, there's a lot of things like that, and I think sex can be, I had endometriosis for years. I had endometriosis so bad. And it caused sex to be so painful that there were times I just couldn't, because I feel like I was being knifed inside. And now, obviously, when all that went, I was like, yes, now I can do no. And then come along menopause, and it was like, I'm back to that. Give me a stick to bite on, let's have that. And for men, let's look at that, because I've dated people that have had erectile dysfunction, and they can't, if they want to, sorry about the noise, but the window's open, they desperately want to, but it ain't not responding, and as
But
a
I
woman,
think
you can take that personally.
you can. I think, though, the older you get, the more you realize that, women have, our bodies change as we get older. Well, so do men's. Not
Yes.
every man. Not every man. But honestly, I never take offense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened since I started having sex, but I never take offense, because I don't know why. I just don't take things personally, I guess. But they tend to get, not necessarily, well, they tend to get upset about it and take it out on us, like we did something to cause them to do that.
Some men can do it. Some.
Yeah. And it's just part of life. I mean, shit happens. Like I said, it's nothing. I don't think it's anything. Just like, we didn't cause that to happen to them. They haven't caused what's going on with us to happen to us. You kind of have to have that conversation. I think it's important for people who are in a relationship to have that conversation.
I mean, we're not 25 anymore, and as much as our brain still is, maybe, or 35 or whatever, our bodies are aging. They're designed to do that. And I dated someone, and they had very low testosterone, and if their mind was willing, the body would not respond. And it got to a point where it was like, let's just cuddle. They would be just like, let's just cuddle. And I felt completely unwanted, sexy at all, because they wouldn't promote sex. They wouldn't go after sex, because they just didn't feel anything. And I understand that, because I've been there. They didn't feel anything. They didn't want it. So you got to a point where you're like, don't you want me? As it's quite natural to ask those questions. Do you want me?
Sure.
Do you find me sexy? And they were like, oh, and they weren't in a hurry to change the situation. And eventually, I believe they found their testosterone was incredibly low. And they went to take something. Whether or not that changed, I don't know, because we ended up parting. But I think it's not about the quantity, it's the quality. And I think if you both work past issues, whether it's him or you can get back to a sex life where it's like, it's not like we was, but it's still pretty damn good. And
that's what I was saying. You really have to have that conversation with your partner. You have to communicate. If you don't, how are they going to know that that you're going through this and things need to change because it hurts, or and I think that if you have a loving partner, they're going to be willing to you know do whatever it takes to make it not, or to make it better for the other person.
And you have to like realize that when you've been with someone for a long time, or if it's a new relationship, it's a whole new ball game. If you're in a long-term relationship, you've got to spice things up. You both got to make an effort. You both got to not drop the ball, pardon the pun. You've got to make it. You still got to date your person. Go out on dates. Go away for weekends, make them feel wanted, etc. And when you're about to date someone new, and we all know that feeling of, oh God, I've got to have the conversation about, because you're getting frisky and you're like, this is feeling all great. And all of a sudden you're like, I've got to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And it's, hang on a minute, I've just got to and there are many different products you can use out there that can help you as well. If you go looking for them and do your research, it's very important. But I think the sexual desire, because we've not got a lot going on down there, and then the hormone levels are all over the place, libido goes down. And that's when you need to see the doctor and say, take blood tests. I need to know what's going on. I'm not feeling the same. And I think a lot of people there, as you say, there is a lot of, I'm not sure I want to talk about that. I'm not sure I want to do it.
But I think as an adult, it shouldn't be that, it shouldn't be, I can't think of what I'm trying to say, but it shouldn't be that hard to talk about if you're talking to another adult.
Yes.
It's, if you like this person and they like you, or if you're in a relationship already, you should be able to talk about anything.
Yes.
Whether it should be, whether it's, something every day or in the bedroom. You should be able to talk about things like that, and you should help each other deal with those things.
I mean, and as for a woman, we keep threatening to talk about the battery operated boyfriends. And literally it is the fact that if you are on your own and you're not having an active sex life, get your bob out, get your battery operated boyfriend out, and that'll help because you'll still be being sexually active in a way, and who knows, it can prepare you.
Believe it or not, I always say that sex is kind of like Lay's potato chips, because if you eat one Lay's potato chips, you want more.
Sure.
If you go a long time without them, you don't really crave them. But if you have it, then you want more. So it almost increases your libido when you do have either by yourself or with someone.
You're still doing it.
It heightens that, heightens those hormones, increases those hormones.
Years ago, it was 9.5 weeks, Mickey Rourke or Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
I'd watch a movie and I'd be like, well, that was a good time. I enjoyed that.
Right.
But I mean, you may have to work harder these days, with pardon the pun, so it was so cool trying to talk about the things, and it's like, you may have to work harder to stimulate yourself, especially when you're not feeling it in here. You're just not feeling it here, and you've been at work all day, you come home, the bills are there, the dog's thrown up on the sofa, your mum's on the phone asking about this, that, and the other. Then it's like, what's for dinner? Oh my God, I've put on 3 pounds. I look fat. I'm not enjoying myself. I'm so tired. I just want to go to bed. Sex is the last thing on your mind. And your partner goes, well, don't you want me anymore? Don't you want me? Can't we just have a quickie? Can't we just do
And you're
this?
like, oh my God, do you know how my day's been?
It's like, no.
But if you give in,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, you're going to feel better at the end of it.
Good endorphins.
So even because it starts to feel like work.
Mm.
It literally starts to feel like work. Like, oh my God, it's something else I have to do.
It's a chore.
So I feel like that's when your partner needs to make it not mundane. Not, okay, this is just another click off on what you had to do today. Make it to where you want to do things. You know what I mean? Start by, mentally making you feel better. And then, once you're relaxed, then it does make you feel better. It's just the thought of, crap, it's something else I got to do. You need to do it for yourself, not for somebody else. But it's hard to get to that point when you feel that way.
Do you remember the terms MILF and DILF? Like dad, I'd like to, mama, I'd like to, because we're in the 40s and 50s. We are those sort of people. We've become mums and dads, but you still look pretty hot. I still want to go there. People still want you. We want their cougar, the older woman. And what happens is, I think that you have to look at each other with new eyes. And definitely, kids can be a massive passion killer. But we spend so much time talking about work and money and kids. We forget that we were people too. That we've forgotten those parts of ourselves that are still there, and we've embraced the new way of life, and we've forgotten how to have an odd weekend away, to have a passion on the sofa. I mean, I remember like dating someone in my 40s and actually like going, we're doing every room in this house.
We have to christen the new house.
We've got to christen every room in this house, and even the wardrobe got a mention, and the attic. So literally,
damn girl,
it happened, because I was ticking them off my list. I was like, and they were up for it, pardon the pun as well. But that was fun. It was like, this is really good fun. And it's like, all of a sudden your kids are growing up, or you're on your own, and it's like, we don't have to get it over and done with. They're asleep. Shh. You can have a long bath together.
That's when mommy mode kicks in.
Yeah.
And instead of sexy wife mode, you're in taking care of another human being, and you're in mommy mode.
Yeah, sure.
And even if you could want it, but one ear is listening for that tiny human that you're taking care of.
Yeah.
So your brain is kind of split, and it can still be nice or whatever, but you're not completely all there, because half of you is listening or half of you is with your children. But once your children are gone, you can kind of turn back into the person you were before you had kids.
Well, I think let's look at them: flirty 40s, frisky, sexy, frisky 50s. But it's like, from what I was reading, it says here that sex in your 40s is about rediscovering your sensual side, being an unselfish lover, and reveling in mutual gratification. Do it like you mean it. And the passion doesn't have to end once you get home. Now, when you get to your 50s, it says that it should reboot us. It shouldn't just be something nice to do. It should be rebooting us. And basically, it's a hell of a lot more fun in your 50s, they are saying. Do it in every room if you can. If you've been together a long time and worried things are going stale, there's no better time to experiment while you're still pretty fit and have the fearlessness only 5 decades.
I don't know about that fit part, but
Well, And it's like you can have the time, as Keith rightly says, have the time and headspace to talk about what you really want in bed and make
Yeah.
it mind-blowing. Actually, I really want this. I love it when you do this. So
Let's
maybe,
try this.
I mean, some people might want to get into dogging. You know, some people might want to go to a swingers club. Some people might want to watch more porn. I mean, the list is endless of what you can get
Yeah.
up to, because you're
Right.
now free, because you haven't got to be home for the kids, and you're not there all the time.
And I don't know about you, but I care less and less about what people think of me the
Sure.
older I get.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not saying, you know, I would, if I had some perverse something that I like, I don't think I'd come out and ask everybody. But luckily I don't. But, you know, I think you're not as embarrassed to tell someone what you like and what you don't like
Yeah.
the older you get. Because you're just pretty much too tired to deal with nonsense.
And because once you get to your 60s and going into 60 plus, the 60s are pretty much like just being in your 40s and 50s, only with increased knee pain and maybe a louder fuck when you look in the mirror, and you're thinking, I'm not looking the way I used to 20 years ago, right?
No. Well, I'm there now. I don't look like I used to. And I mean, in my eyes, I look like a totally different person.
And I
But
think that mental attitude, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It is. You know, it's I think the main thing with me is I don't look like I did in my 30s, even 40s. And in my eyes, I've went, you know, I look totally different. And, you know, of course, I probably thought that then too. But now I'm looking back and I'm thinking, damn, I didn't look that bad back then.
But we didn't think it when we were back
Right.
then. We didn't look. We thought we were crap and we needed to lose weight, or we weren't great, whatever. I care less about people's opinions about me, and I dress for me, and if no one likes it, then sodom, I really don't care. I think what it is that I know how I like to look, and if I see my body shape changing through hormonal reasons or whatever, then I'm going to want to do something about it. That's what makes me feel. But once you get into your 60s, and I have to say, only 17% of men over 60 get erectile dysfunction. Only 17%, it says so far. But, you know, you might be in your 60s going in, or even into your 70s. Retirement's coming up, which means you've got a lot of time on your hand. And you know what you could do with all that time, don't you, Val?
Yeah, I could sit on the porch and drink coffee.
But
because I'm too tired to do anything else.
I mean, gardening is all very well and good, but getting off is cheaper and more fun and won't leave dirt on your fingernails, apparently. And I think that sex in your 60s or even older, it's about pleasing yourself. And whilst you might not be able to do anything without the little blue pill, or without help down below, or with with cream or gel or HRT, whatever, sex toys. I mean, let's look at that. The battery operated boyfriends. What the hell did we do before them, Val?
Nothing. But I mean, honestly, if you love someone else and you really want to have a good time and not worry about anything, would it really bother you if there were toys and pills and, you know, creams and lubes and everything laying there? No, because you're going to have a good time, even if you have to use all those things.
Mm-hmm.
You're both going to have a good time with each other, whether you have to use all that stuff or not.
Well, it's certainly going to be
So
a lot.
it should be about the connection, no pun intended, that rather than what you have to do to get to that point.
It's 100%. You're absolutely right. And the thing is, we do have to take more care of our bodies as we get older.
Sure.
So it might mean you might have to drink less, smoke less, get more exercise, go down the gym, go swimming, watch what you eat, work out, because at the end of the day, you want to keep as fit and young as possible, and you do make sure that you keep the grandchildren away from the special drawer that you've got in
Well,
your
yeah, grandma's rocket. I don't think anybody wants to find that.
like,
But,
Nanny, that looks like a rabbit.
Having a grandkid come through the house with grandma's rocket, I don't think anybody wants that. But,
No.
I feel like we should do things for ourselves. Like you mentioned before, dress the way you want to, what makes you feel good. Don't worry
Yeah.
about dressing for somebody else.
Yeah.
Look the way you want to look for you, what makes you happy and what makes you confident and feel good. Don't worry about what everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're going home with you, and if you feel bad about yourself, you're going to be way worse. If I go out and I feel good about myself, I really don't care what everybody else thinks. And believe it or not, I have before tried to, be what someone else wanted me to look like, be like, act like. And I was constantly uncomfortable. I was constantly embarrassed because it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I said, if you be true to yourself, act the way you want to act, dress, whatever the way you want to be, what makes you feel good, kiss on everybody else. Because the people who can see you for who you are the ones you want to be with, instead of the ones that see that fake outside.
Now, before I come to that other point, you bring up a few good points there about it's in here. But I also think as we go along, if we're in a relationship for a long time, we can stop fancying our partners. Maybe they didn't take care of themselves, maybe they let themselves go, maybe that, as you said, libido's changed, you're feeling completely rejected, completely not wanted, and someone else starts to show you attention, or you start to look for that attention elsewhere. You're only human. Mm-hmm. It's completely natural. Been there, done it. We've all ticked it off one way or the other. What happens when one of you wants to still have intimacy and the other one doesn't, and then you find out that actually there was other reasons for that? The reason is they're just not that into you anymore, and they'd rather go and get it with Bob. I'm not talking about the battery operated one, but they'd rather get it with Bob than they want it with you. And some people agree to an open marriage where they say, look, I'm just not interested in sex anymore. I don't want it. If you want to go and get it elsewhere, that's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine. It's up to you. But I don't want it anymore. I know of a few people in that situation right now who were basically said, I'm not into sex. It doesn't do anything for me. It was there for children, and yeah, it was fun, but now I don't want it anymore. You can have you have an open relationship. I don't know whether I agree with open relationships unless you're both on the same page, because once you start going down the road, the dynamics change.
Well, to have an open relationship, you have to be on the same page. You have to both commit to that and be okay with it.
Yeah.
Because if one is okay with it and one's not, that's cheating. Because you're going to do it and know the other one's not okay with it, so you're not going to tell them.
Yeah.
And it comes down to you're cheating on them. But if you both come to the understanding that, you tell them, I'm going to do this, or they know that you're going to do that. If you're both okay with it, there's nothing, what's wrong?
Yeah, because if you both want an open relationship and you both want to get fun outside and still keep the union, then that's fine. But if one of you desperately wants the other person and that you're rejected time and time again by your partner, how many times do you have to get rejected?
Then you need to leave that person and let them have whoever they want, and you go find yourself peace.
And that would be so easy, wouldn't it? That would be so easy if people did it that way, but they don't, because they're frightened after being perhaps with someone for so long and they don't know anything else or being with anyone else, and money and everything else is involved. They're like, I actually don't know what to do anymore. I've lost all my confidence. My partner's rejected me, or the marriage has ended, or the relationship's ended, or perhaps they died, and now it's a brand new ball of wax. I want to bring up the comments that I found earlier on from some gentlemen who wrote into a particular article about sex and being rejected due to menopause and etc. And someone is a 58-year-old guy, and he says, I still want to chase my wife around, but she pushes me away. I know things hurt, back, hips, knees, etc., more than they used to. I don't look like I'm 30. Surprised she doesn't either, but we're holding up pretty well. The old boy isn't as spry as he used to be. So yes, no quickies on the kitchen table, but they never did that anyway. But everything still works for both of us, but she's not really interested. So if she's not interested, she doesn't want it, I don't know what to do. Come on, ladies, don't give up. And I think that's a comment a lot of guys probably would say about, and I'm not saying all guys, women don't say that about men as well, because I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
And I want to bring up the female, a lady of 50. I won't give her name, but she says, I may be 50 and over. I'm in a relationship with a guy and have been with 5 years. We're both over 50, and I'm the one who wants to have sex and attention. He doesn't. I have to admit, I'm pretty hurt by this, and it definitely adds tension to the relationship. He's gone to the doctor and has been tested. He has low testosterone and diabetes. He was put on testosterone, which did nothing but put weight on him, so he went off the medication. He's now on medication for his diabetes. So now he's no longer to have any medication for his testosterone level. We have sex maybe only once every 3 months. We get along great. This is the only issue we have, but it's an issue. I need affection. What should we do? That's a very good point. Someone doesn't want to take the medication because it makes them feel like crap, or it makes them put weight on, etc. So that it doesn't change. It stays the same.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, she's feeling unwanted and totally rejected. And if you look at it from both sides, rejection is a way of saying, I have to look at this situation and go, like you said quite rightly, Val, if they don't want me, if they're not willing to do anything to change it, if they're not willing to do anything to help themselves or this relationship, it's time to call it quits.
I mean, unless you're the same way and you just want to live as roommates.
Yeah.
But, I think there's more married couples out there that live as roommates because that's just, that's comfortable. They don't want to have these discussions, and they're fine. They're okay with just, being together. And it's okay if you are both just happy with just having that friend instead of, you know, necessarily that lover that you used to have.
I think it's seeing your partner in that way still, but you've got to make an effort for your partner, because sex is in the eyes, it's in the head. Smell good, look good, make an effort, because you want to find, go away for a hotel for a weekend, chat someone, role play, chat them up at the bar and pretend you don't know them, drag them back to your hotel room, go to Ann Summers or wherever the equivalent is in, Victoria's Secrets or wherever you need to go, and buy yourself some battery operated friends, for both of you, to encourage this side of it. Before I bring in a male perceptive on this, I literally want to just read this quote. I'm 53 and my husband is 32 years is 59. We have sex less often, but when we do, it's amazing. Sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's not. It's a toss-up of who isn't as interested in sex at the time. My husband does seem to be occupied with other things and doesn't pop into his head as often as it used to. Now, in this last year, that started to happen with me. I had a hysterectomy, big change for a woman, 5 years ago, and need no hormone replacement. I think that having a fulfilling sex life actually helped me with that. We cuddle, hold hands, and have quiet moments. We're not in the best of shape or look like we did 30 years ago, but we still find each other attractive and are in love. Sex is part of that. Men, show your women that you love them and want them. Be a hunk, make them laugh, make them feel protected and wanted. Women, show your men how much you desire them, flirt with them, smile a lot, and let them know how much you need them. I think that was very good when I read that. I thought that is a really sort of common sense. She's saying, like we're talking about, don't let things drift, because it will just fall apart.
Yeah.
I dated for a couple of months with this particular gentleman, and it was like, if you kiss someone, kissing is so sensual, it's so underrated. You can kiss for hours, it's really sexy, it's really hot, and it can turn you on. It's a big prelude. And I think people don't bother about kissing. They give up on kissing. They're giving up on pinching their ass and chasing them around the place. They give up.
Yeah. I mean, even if, you've been married 20 years, if you walk past your wife and smack her on the ass, just out of nowhere, or, she's going to have that ego boost.
Yeah.
And it's going to make her feel good whether you end up doing anything or not.
And I also think it's important to tell someone that you want them.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we tell it. We're not open with communication. And I think that we should be more open and say, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I want. Because, that's where we start from. Thank you to all the ones that Keith, would you like to come on? Ken, would you like to come on? David, come and join. We'd like to hear from a guy's point of view as well.
Can you put the thing on
it is actually
on the chat?
Let me see. Invite. Here we go. Copy. Let's bring this in.
But yeah, I mean, I think you have to make an effort. No matter how long you've been married, no matter what your, I words are hard for me today.
No, I get what you're saying.
No matter what your situation is.
Yeah.
If you just make the slightest effort to show them that, you still find them attractive, you still love them, even just the smallest act is going to show them, yes, I still want to be here. Yes, I still find you attractive or find you sexy. You know, it goes a long way.
I think when we've been with someone for a long time, we get comfortable. We
Yeah.
put weight on. We don't make an effort. Maybe we don't get our teeth sorted out. Maybe maybe we don't wax anymore. Maybe we don't shave. And maybe we just become. We don't make an effort. And I think when you first meet someone, when you first fancy someone, it's all in here. It's all about attraction. It's all
Sure.
about, God, I find them hot. God, I want to shag them. God, they're really gorgeous. It's all
Yeah.
here. And then, they smell good. They look good. They've made an effort. You can tell that there's that contact, that consistency in the way that you're looking at each other. And I think what happens is people just stop. They
Well,
don't bother, take it
they
for
get
granted.
in that comfortable mode.
Yeah.
And it's almost to the point where, well, I've got her now. We're married. I don't have to do all that stuff. But and I think a lot of times men and women stop doing what they did that attracted the other person after they have them. It's like, well, I don't have to do that anymore because I got you.
The thing is, we're talking about the difficult sides, but what about the other side? There are other ladies out there and guys who are having the best sex of their life right
Mhm.
now because everything is working as it should. They're not got any worries, and they're banging for Britain. They're shagging for America. They're having a great time, and they're saying like, "This is the best time of my life," and that is a wonderful thing to hear because you've lost
Sure.
all those things. And I wish all of us had that opportunity and we didn't have all these pitfalls and peaks and troughs because, sex is amazing. It's so good for
Sure.
you.
Yeah.
So good for you. And it's full of good endorphins. You get out and you're like,
And
okay, all good.
it will help us lose weight.
100%. Yep. Get out and do
So
it.
maybe that's what we need to do. We need to do that a lot to get our weight back off of us.
Well, we do, and literally, I think that when you have a sexual relationship and it's going, you're both getting out what you're putting in. Pardon the
Yeah.
pun. It's ticking the boxes, and you go out with a big smile on your face. You're feeling really happy. You're like, and you get the phone calls last night. That was amazing. Do that to me again. What you did. We want to try this. This is what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
sex is very important. Michael, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, honey. Hanging in there. I got a whole list of notes, like always. Like I said, very deep subject. A subject that needs to be have the in and outs worked out of it. But no, he's talking about later in life. I've heard guys say if she sends me a picture of her medicine cabinet so I can see how crazy she is, I'll send her a picture of the AC unit and the fan. But that's
Absolutely.
that's dating in your late 40s and 50s. But I remember my grandpa when he was in the nursing home. They had to pry these old people apart. Almost, it was almost like feral dogs. That every time we turn around, somebody was in somebody's room that wasn't supposed to be there.
Good for them.
And it was
All
all
I
fun.
gotta say is go for it.
I remember my mom worked at one nursing home. Anybody who knows me knows where it was. Know where my grandpa was. And she called the house like 2 or 3 times. This is like free cell phone things. And she's like, Michael, you need to come get your grandpa. I'm like, is he fighting somebody? Is he combative? She's like, oh no, it's worse. And I thought, what's worse than some old man, beating somebody's ass? So, I hurry up and I get up there and they're all, and, all the aides and, they had 2 nurses and everybody's kind of huddled up down at this long hall. And I said, where's Papa at? Oh, he's in the sunroom and her name was Betty. I said, what are they doing? Well, Michael, it ain't appropriate. He's a widower and she's a widow. And I said, well, I'll go talk to him because me and my papa was pretty tight. And I remember I popped the doors up. And sure enough, he was under her crochet blanket and I said, Papa, what are you doing? He said, if you got 2 kids and you don't know, they're probably not yours. I said, Papa, I was like, Papa, you got to stop. He said, when you was a teenager, he said, and you brought girls in, he said, did I ever come in and tell you to stop? I was like, no. I said, fair point. I'll leave you as you were. And I remember I came back down the hall and, all these women are still huddled up in this pile. And they said, well, what did he say? I said, he pretty much called bro code and you're on your own. I said, I can't break it. They said, no, you need to make him stop. I said, you go down there problem part. I don't want no part of that. But
hey, if they feel like doing that, pour it on it.
That's what I'm saying. 80 years old, still getting it in. And that's like
pour it on it.
There's a whole community of seniors in Florida, and they had one of the worst STD outbreaks in like the history of the United States. And we are a big country, and they got the damn, what do you call it, loofahs or whatever, and they all ride around like on golf carts. They're out there wrecking holes and taking souls. I don't know. It's just crazy.
Hey, I mean, if you've got the energy and you want to do it, wear it out.
But that comes back to, when you get older.
Good for you.
Like I said, being an old Army guy, we have a kit for everything. And I watch a lot of the UK veterans that does the React videos and stuff. And they always say, yo, that's a cool piece of kit. I'm thinking, we need an overnight sex kit for when we get older. Your blue pill, some lube, not no ditty lube. You don't want to drug nobody. It's got to be consensual. But you know what I'm saying? You throw in the blue pill, throw in some Astroglide and some handy wipes. And
so you kind of got your battery operated friend. You've got your blue pill, you've got your lube, and it's like, let's do this shit.
But if you think about it, each piece of that is in case.
That's it, just in case. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, I'm not going
in case it don't work. In case it's too dry. In case, yeah.
And that goes back to
that's your in case.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah, I like it. I've never went into a situation where I didn't have a plan of operation. And everybody said, well, and Jason has said this, logistically speaking, America can put more warheads on foreheads than anybody just because we have a plan. We got a plan in case the plane goes by. And when you get older, you might need to reevaluate your logistics. If I want this to happen, what do I need to put in place?
Yeah.
For it to work out. And if that's your blue pill, take it, and if she's dry, and I heard you talking about being torn in half. Unless you're hung like a mouse, it is no fun for the guy either. Say, oh, honey, say we got to work on that. That hurts. No.
I think that's when you pop open the lube and go to town. Who cares?
There's so many choices now, isn't there?
Yeah.
It used to be in the old days, in the 70s, the old KY, but now there's so many choices to have, and if you're using the estrogen down below and then you've got the lube on top, it's going to make it far more enjoyable. And I honestly feel like when I the last time I was down in that department, it was like, brace yourself, Wendy, for the first few minutes. Just get through those minutes, and then once you're through it, it's not so bad. And it'd be like,
well, you kind of like tense up, and you're like, is it going to hurt? Is it not? Is what's going to happen?
You got to fancy each other. That's the thing as well. Like obviously my granddad was still looking at women going, and I want a bit of that, right?
And I asked him, I said, Papa, I said, do you like her? He said, no, she's just a good lady. He said, I was married to your grandmother for 65 years. I'm not raising nobody else's family. And
well, that's what I was talking about earlier with older people.
Gangster type shit.
They don't have to worry about all that.
No, it's it. And I'm like,
honey, I'd go give him a high five.
Oh,
wear it out, Papa.
I'm thinking, hell, them genetics running this. If it's still working at 80 years old, there's hope for old Mike. You know what I'm saying?
But it doesn't always work like that, does it? It doesn't always work like that.
Oh, don't punch my fantasy.
But it's true. It doesn't. Your nan. My nan was totally off that. She was not interested. It was gone, done, dusted. My mom was very different. She was like, let's bring this on, let's happen. And you know, so my mom and Nan were different generations. Michael's generation, granddad would have been like my Nan's generation, very different. You said you had some more notes, Michael. What else did you put down?
And a lot of times with men, you know, the ability to keep a stiffy or whatever, or perform, when it quits working, they feel like less of a man.
Yeah.
Their sex life and their sexual health is very much tied to manhood.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, like, you know, and I got tested for low T, and the lady's like, they're great. I'm like, she's like, most men your age and background have to get shots, but the shots can cause, I can't pronounce the word, but your boys, you know, that you can give you cancer of the boys.
Really?
Or the testes, yeah,
testes.
Yeah, that word that I could not
Yeah,
spell.
that's the word.
Yeah, ball cancer. Yeah, like Lance Armstrong. Yeah, Lance
Ball
Armstrong.
cancer. There you go.
And I think, you know, is it worth it? Even with Viagra, you know, and they couldn't figure out how these old guys was dying in like the Bunny Ranch and all of these legalized brothels. I was going to say whorehouses, but they're brothels. You know,
Hell, their heart gives out. Damn.
You know, and it even tells you in the side effects. You know, may cause an erection for over 4 hours. You know, may cause, you know, dizziness, blindness, and all this. And at the bottom of it, in big letters, it says death. But these guys, being able
What
to
a
get
way to go, Michael.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. On top of something young and hot. You're right.
Yeah, but you say that when they gave me this estrogen gel, I'm not kidding you. The paper is this long, right? Double-sided, and it's got really horrible side effects. You know, stroke, cancer, blah blah blah, and you're like, I don't think I want to take that. You know, that's the thing where I'm at. Like, do I want to take that?
See, that is why you never read the side effects, or you will never take anything.
That's true.
But fun fact is, America is one of the only countries that they can promote this stuff on TV. We have commercials for every kind of prescription drug on the planet.
Yeah.
In the UK, it's illegal. France, it's illegal. Germany, and all that. And now, well, they used to read the side effects like, it's almost like they sped it up. And now they pass a law where they actually have to read them out slow. And I'm like,
but
okay.
I mean, everybody knows that couple in the bathtub out in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, that's all bullshit.
You know, I'm like,
anybody who's ever had sex in a pool or a bathtub, it don't work that way.
No, water makes it dry. It's so funny. It
don't work that way. Then you get suction together. Then you got to call the fire department.
It makes you remember it.
Oh yeah, when the fire department's trying to pry you apart. Oh yeah, you must definitely remember when your friends.
I mean, you remember what was that drug, and you go to the doctor, and you're like, you know, two people in the bathtub. They're like, oh, you need, you know, Cialis. So,
is that the one they call the Weekender? Because over here we've got obviously Viagra, which is the blue pill, and then
you're talking about the blue chew pack. The blue chew.
The blue pill is Viagra, but then we've got something called the Weekender, which means you take it on the Friday. It doesn't work like Viagra, but it lasts longer, and so you can have sex all weekend and it'll work. You know,
it might be.
Blue Chew is not Viagra. Blue Chew is like a thing, and they promote it on everything, any podcast you watch, any commercial. But another, Pfizer brought the blue pill out. It's supposed to be like for high blood pressure, and all of these old men that had like bad hearts, next thing you know, they're waking up with a heart on. So they're like, oh, the side effect is this. You know, we've got $1 billion ideal. You know, and you see men when they got older, they got the younger wife that they couldn't please because they had no help. They didn't buy the Corvette. They didn't know how to drive. And somebody else was putting miles on both of them after they died off. And it's like, it's, you know, and you're talking about male menopause. And I have seen older men, they get moody as hell, crabby. That comes into the grumpy old man thing. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want to be grumpy. I don't want to be known as the old guy that throws rocks at kids and say, "Get off my grass." I don't want to.
Would you take a hormone replacement for guys if it was offered?
Yeah, I want the T or what not? What is it? The cell treatment, the stem cell treatment that you get. But mine's for pain, and they said, it said it rolls back.
Apparently, that's good for everything.
It is, and I know Mel Gibson was on Joe Rogan and said his dad's nurse was complaining because when she went to change him into his day clothes, that she had an extra appendage to work around that she wasn't used to with 90-year-old guys. And it was, when I heard that, I thought, if it helps with back pain, if it helps with knee pain, the cartilage in my neck, I got bulging disc, and now with the stroke issue, I thought that would help me a lot. And everybody's like, yeah, but it helps this also. I was like, well, that's just a happy side effect. Right now, I just want to be out of pain.
So you wouldn't look at the big picture or the side effects. You would just take it and hope for the best.
I did a paper for school on stem cell, and I think the benefits outweigh the side effects.
That's why I never read the side effects on anything.
And the only downside is it's not legal here in the States, but under certain qualifications.
Really? It's not legal?
No, the FDA will not approve it. And they call it the fountain youth. And but you can go to a third party country. It's $10,000 for 7 days. You go in, you have a round the clock nurse with you, 5-star treatment in the hotel. You have 5-star meals, and they go in and treat you for a week with like high doses of stem cells.
Wow.
And it's like, they said, you get hair pigment color back, you lose the gray, the salt and pepper, things work like they are intended.
Damn, I need to have some of those.
$10,000.
Okay. There will be a GoFundMe page.
for all
exactly.
Yeah. We will be the guinea pigs. It's it, $30,000, and we will be your guinea pig. Sponsors welcome. I got a passport.
Do you think, Michael, as a guy who's over 50, and
I'm only 29,
and every man's different. They've all got different issues. Do you think that men see sex differently in their 50s to what they did when they were younger, or is it still the same?
I always say no matter how old the man is, there's still a 12-year-old perverted little boy that runs around the side of him.
Well, let me ask you this, Michael. At 3?
Oh, Lord, boy, you just going to put, she's mean to me.
Anyway.
35 of them dyslexic, right? At
50 plus.
Yeah, 53. I just had a birthday in June.
Do you still think that
money in them for my stem cell?
Do you still believe that women actually make those noises and facial expressions that they do on porn movies?
Fuck no. If they're making a face like that, you probably stepped on their hair or something. Or
yeah.
Something. But you know what's crazy? And I wrote this down because I always take a lot of notes. Stepmom porn ranks #1 on searches with young guys.
Wow.
And I don't know if it's mommy issues. I don't know if it's they would, like we said last week, I remember the lady that made me a man. God bless her. If I knew where she was buried, I'd go put flowers on her grave. Or what I'm saying? And you go from you go from being the student to the teacher when you're older.
But that just goes along with, and I have noticed that a lot of younger guys go for older women.
Oh yeah, they want to learn. If you're going by a steak, you don't go to you don't.
Well, until they realize that we don't know what the hell we're doing either.
Yeah, but they fake it well. What is it? They say, "Oh,
it's true. We do know how to fake it."
Yeah.
Hey, Ken.
Say what's her asshole doing while she's having sex? Probably at work. Or getting off. Yeah, that's what it is.
Ken.
Speaking of old,
okay, I got about it.
Okay.
So, Ken, what's your take on sex in your mature ages?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, my age, what age? I mean, I feel it's good body wise, physical. Even though I had cancer and all that, I feel like bring it on.
So you
I mean,
saying you say you still have sex in your 80s?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
If
Yeah.
the wind blows, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm 53. That's why I'll tell them.
Yeah.
Like I
Man,
said, good genetics. I
wind can
guess.
blow and he starts looking around.
Yeah,
That's
the
all.
little fella say hello to my little friend. I mean,
Al Capone that shit. I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, at the mornings when I get up and don't have my own towel rack with me, I want to be upset as hell. I want to
yeah.
have to talk to the dog and say, look, we're going to find you a home there. Daddy's probably going to have to go out in the field and take care of something.
I think there's a true saying is practice makes perfect. And I think what happens is if you're in a relationship or you stop having sex, maybe you don't want to. You don't have to have sex. No one's saying if you don't want it anymore, you have to have it. You don't. But it is good for you. It's very good for the endorphins. It helps things stay like a car engine. You keep it lubed, you keep it
Well,
working.
it's literally a good workout.
So you're talking about practice, like
Yeah, that's it. But
Trust you, Ken.
hey, speaking of dirty old men, where's
hey,
Terry?
I tell like we all adults here. You talk about practice. You talk about
Yeah,
smoking the chicken or something. That's practice.
that's what I'm saying. Speaking of dirty old men, where's your buddy Terry?
Who knows? I think last time I talked to Terry, he had this mask or looked like Darth Vader. He was taking a nap. He said he's
Lord.
taking a nap about an hour. Then he wants to come on.
Because Valerie does her cat chick designs and stuff like that, and I'm waiting on my Bigfoot here to put in my background so I can shamelessly plug that.
Well, you can message me and tell me exactly what kind of Bigfoot that you want.
You know me. I don't.
Also, sex is you've got to have a sense of humor with
That's it.
sex, right?
Especially when you get older,
as you get older, you've got to keep that humor, because if you don't keep that humor and you go like, one of you's trying to get in a certain position and it's not working, or
when you're moaning and groaning, not out of pleasure, but because your back is hurting, and they get tickled at you, it's funny.
If a guy's back is hurting,
yeah. Oh yeah. It goes funny.
Oh, you leave it all up to the woman. I see how you do it. If your back is
hurting that bad and you need it,
she needs to step up, I guess.
Hey,
you
put a
should.
hand in it or something,
Yeah, Oxycontin and Viagra.
You should take it. The most important thing is if you're going to have an active sex life, is to make sure that you are fit to have an active sex life. Because if you can't, and you're like, I desperately want to, but I can't with this, or if this is not working, a lot of people don't want to go to their doctor. They don't want to talk to them. They don't want to say, I've got a problem, because they're embarrassed. And we still have that
stigma.
Oh, no.
It's that stigma of, I'm less of a man or less of a woman because I can't do something.
Mm-hmm.
Just because certain men have to take a little pill.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't mean that they're any less of a man, because like I said early, shit happens.
Years ago, there's a guy doing experiments where he was taking like bull testicles and stuff like that and sewing it into a man's leg.
Yeah.
That would help him be more whatever.
And it did help, but it was the testosterone.
Yeah. But what I was thinking about, since Uncle Terry's not here, since he can't do it, I want to come out with my own line of toys, and we're going to name it Terry's Bigfoot Toys Emporium. We're going to put Terry on the box beside Bigfoot, holding up the helper's friend. We're going to sell the overnight sex kit. Yeah.
I mean, I do think, Val, let's be honest, I don't know about you, but when you go into menopause, you think you're going to be like this leather shoe. Everything sort of shrinks, because from a medical point of view, everything does shrink inside. The womb gets smaller, the tubes, the ovaries, for a woman, everything shrinks. It becomes a lot smaller. And therefore, it's not working like it once was. And as I said, everyone has it's giggly and funny, but actually it's not. It's really horrible, because you start feeling less of a woman, less sexy, less feminine, and you just feel like, going for a smear test is painful. You don't want anyone to, the doctor's anyone that goes down then the more these days. And it's like, what's happened to me? I can't dress, my body's changing it. And boobs, let's look at the boob department. Those change as well because of hormonal levels. They're not as once, and so women look at having boob jobs because they want to bring them back.
Well, they used to be up here and now they're not.
And I have to say that I would maybe consider that if mine ended up going down to the end of
when your nipple kisses your belly button.
Absolutely, I would totally contemplate of having them brought up because I'm doing it for me, because it would make me feel good.
But
even if it's just
thing. That's the thing. Don't do anything for somebody else.
Yeah.
No.
Make sure you're doing. Make sure you're doing it for yourself.
Old men. I mean, that's like all the guys. Some old men, some old men can't sit out on a toilet seat. You got to make sure to be real careful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
When your knee is knocking them around, you might need to see the doctor.
Yeah. Wearing boxers.
Or to get caught between the toilet lid and the toilet. That would be painful, I'm sure.
I think that men should get their testosterone checked.
Yeah,
it should be something that they're offered, and they should check it, because they might go, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It works everything. It's there in the morning." That's not the point. The point is that keeping, exactly what's going on with your body, and I think a good lover is somebody that takes care of themselves, takes care of their body, knows exactly what's going on with their body, and therefore when they come into that relationship, or you want to keep that relationship, voom, they've done their bit. They've ticked it off, because so many people go, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with me. It's them. It's her. She doesn't want it." Or in my case, it was, he didn't want it. But then I married someone who was a lot younger than me, almost 20 years ago, and the sex wasn't big for him. It wasn't big. It was like once a year.
Where are you finding these? Never mind.
I'm just not doing too well with that. I'm seriously not.
Just saying, where are you finding these idiots?
With all due respects, that was 20 odd years ago. Life has changed in the last so many years, and to be honest, I think this is where sex begins and ends. Really, it's in there.
JP just put up, especially in vets, constant deployments and high op tempos over years has shown an impact on T levels in veterans, and it did, and that's one of the reasons I had mine checked. And I'm very fortunate. And I found another good doctor the other day, and she said veterans usually know their body pretty well because that was her job, to keep herself at peak performance. And I joke a lot or whatever, but there's a lot of things I'm very serious about. I told her, I said, the last thing in my life I want to be known as somebody who has a dicky do, where your belly sticks up more than your does. I said, I don't want that. I said that's the worst thing that could, a man could have. Everybody talking about gravity or whatever. I do not want to be the old guy that wears this hat that says "Pot Bellied Stallion" that has to get a mirror to look at his pecker. I don't want that. I have something,
But I think it should be the man's responsibility to have that preventive, that preventive medical care, or go to the doctor just to make sure if they're feeling a little off, or even just that annual preventive care.
What is it? Self-care and self-maintenance.
Yeah.
And I tell people that.
And there's also more than one way then to have sex. I mean, you don't have to have, normal sex. You can find whatever works for any of you, right? It doesn't have, if this is too painful, or if this is not working, you can find ways to be a better lover by actually working your way around your partner's body and finding out what works for both of you. Because sometimes if you just, it really is painful, or it's just not working, and you still want to give your partner pleasure, then it's about, first of all, as you say, human communication and finding your way around the body and seeing what works. Just because you don't have intercourse, whatever which way you want to look at it, there's lots of other ways to do it. But as I said, it's got to be something that the both of you want. But for me, it was
a lot of pillows and ibuprofen. Yeah, a lot of pillows and ibuprofen.
When you're to me, it would be fun, the laughing and trying to find a position that don't hurt one's knee or back, or don't lay on my hair or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It should be happy time, fun, not, well, this is your fault. And, it's not my fault. It's nothing I did. It's your fault. And then get mad and storm off because they can't do something.
Mm.
So I think it has to be a mutual thing.
But do you find though that some people will come up with every excuse under the sun to not have sex? And we're going from 40s now up to like 60s plus. So like, I've got my period, I'm not feeling well, I've got a UTI. Sometimes they just don't want sex with you, right?
Yeah.
And literally,
Right.
it just makes you feel completely not wanted, because that they had their period the other week. Perhaps I dated someone and he was telling me about his ex-wife, and he said like literally every week she had a UTI, or every week it was her period, or every week it was something else. He said, and in the end I just knew she just didn't want sex with me. She wanted sex, she just didn't want it with me. And I think it's when it's in a situation like that, and why are we staying with people that, if we still want to have a sex life, why are we staying with people that don't give us sex?
I think a lot of it is fear.
Yeah.
Fear of not being with someone, being by yourself.
Yeah, the unknown of what's going to happen when you leave. What is it? We used to joke in the Army a lot about an unidentified sex injury. What was it? It's like a USI or something other, because you'd see these guys coming in. I'm thinking, what the hell are you trying to do? Acrobatics? And now when I have an unidentified sex injury, it's like, oh, I pulled my back. What happened to my knee? Then I just realized it's old age. It wasn't out of fun. It's like, yeah, that's something. Pillows and ibuprofen and an ice pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, I want to put that in my kit. Ibuprofen. Yeah.
But I mean,
one of those crunch ice packs.
Yeah,
I know when and we do pick partners sometimes that we think we are on the same sex libido. Sex drive, libido is exactly the same, because it is when you first get with someone. Regardless of what age you get with them, everyone, you're on the same. It's only as time goes on, and then you discover that they perhaps went elsewhere. That things have been a bit difficult in the bedroom, and the next thing you know, they've gone elsewhere. And then you're thinking to yourself, and I don't speak from experience, I'm just using it as an example. Then you're thinking, oh God, it was because I didn't do it, or because they can't do it with me, or because I had low testosterone, or because I it's like, it's so painful.
But when you find out that they have done that, that's when you pack all their shit up and put it in the front yard and say you can have him.
I was going to say, and burn it. Yeah, I know where Valerie's from. It's not too far from me. That they usually just don't pack it up. There's usually some kindling and lighter fluid involved. But
I was being nice, but if you want them and not me, it's not making me happy. So go for it.
Say that left being a me problem to now he's a you problem. So what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can lose years of your, and I know people also that had children in their 40s, and their sex drive went down the pan, and they ended up sleeping in separate rooms. Now, I think because I'm terrible. I find it really hard to sleep and share a bed with someone, because I'm a light sleeper, slightest thing and I'm wide awake, and I'm like, you need to stop breathing, because I just can't handle it. So the cat's all right, the dog's all right.
That's what they would say about me. They're like, you need to shut up.
Yeah. So I have to, I'm sort of 1950s. You got your room, I've got mine, we've got one that we join, and we want to. But sometimes when you are in separate beds or separate bedrooms, if you're not in that mental state of mind, it gets further and further away. You don't have sex as much, because
you go farther and farther towards roommates.
But I find it really hard to pardon the pun to actually share a bed sometimes. It's okay. I can cope on holiday. It's probably that's my dating cred completely gone down the line now. But I find it I can do it for a little while, and then I'm like, you need to stop breathing. You need to stop breathing now because I need to get my sleep. And I actually find them more sexy in the morning. See, everybody's different. I find it more sexy in the morning to get up, feeling refreshed, had a good night's sleep, and I'm like, let's do this, rather than getting up in the morning going, you kept me awake all night. Don't even think of coming near me, right?
See, I'm so not a morning person.
No. You better wake me up with a lot of coffee.
So unless you have coffee in hand and lips zipped, don't wake me up.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
No,
What about you, Ken?
Ken is an all-time person.
yeah,
He's
I
the same
would
all
change.
the
I'm the
time.
same when I go to bed and same when I wake up.
yeah.
I've
What's the
got
song
to be
called?
honest, I don't mind what time of day it is, morning, noon, or night. During the night, it doesn't bother me. But I have got to have a good night's sleep first, because if I don't sleep well, it ain't happening, because I just don't feel great.
You was talking about the separate beds.
No.
What was
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I get no sleep or whatever. I'm good. I really am.
What was it?
It's just me. It's in my
Caffeine
genes.
is my miracle.
Really, it's in my genes.
Jason says I'm pretty much fully functional in the morning. Well, that's good to know. Rosy attitude and energy and everything.
And, what was it? Growing up, the Lucy was in one bed, Desi was in the other bed. Yet they seemed to have little Ricky, and we're all adults, and we know how little Ricky got here. And I look back, and my grandparents, they had separate beds, and they raised 18 kids.
Absolutely.
So somebody must have been.
Well, hell, sometimes you have to say, get in your own bed because I'm tired.
Just because you have separate beds,
We got
mean-
all these youngins, go away.
Yeah, fuck off. Yeah, it's like not all the way off because I might want to sleepwalk.
And the thing is, if you don't feel like you and I were saying, Val, if you don't feel good and you don't feel energetic, you're not going to want to have sex because it's going to be a chore, and you're going to want and what happened to like make an effort, go on a date, look really good, go out on a date, chat each other up, flirt with each other, book a night away or a hotel away, or buy them something. I saw this today and thought of you look really hot in this, whatever. And not just the whole, and let me tell this, guys, we women know that a lot of you like stocking suspenders and hold ups and etc., but we too like you to make an effort in that department to keep it neat, and because 70s afro is not cool anymore.
Well, one thing, if we are completely, high heels all the way up, and you're laying on the bed, how you doing with dirty tidy whities, we ain't gonna be that.
Whiteys.
Oh,
Who the hell wears tidy whiteys?
And that's it.
Who the hell wears tidy whiteys?
But it's the ones that they bought like in high school, and they're like,
I always say
but they think that.
Val put a picture in my mind. Tidy whities with long skid marks on it. Yeah, that would kill the moment.
Dirty tidy whities with the really thin back, almost ready
skid
to
marks on it, skid marks. Yeah, that would ruin it.
One good part away from having a blowout. Yeah,
exactly. But yet they want us to be sexy and get mad if we're not. But you're laying there with your ass cheeks hanging out of a hole in the back of your.
Some people might find skid marks. Some people might find skid marks sexy. I mean, you never know.
Well, I'm not one of them.
I'm just saying, don't kill the messenger.
What I'm saying is, if we are going to put up the effort, please put up the effort.
I'll be the male sense of reason in all this here.
You get dark underwear. I'm one of these people, dark blue, maybe black, maybe occasional white. Everything else is just no. Yellow, green, red.
Oh, believe me, JP, I've seen holes in dark underwear.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing is manscaping. Let's talk about that, because women, we want to make sure everything's looking good. Men, I dated a guy once that obviously when he took the boxes down, the 70s afro came out.
Did it go?
Yeah, I mean, a guy don't want to hear A guy doesn't want to hear a woman going.
Taking
Or
her.
see her,
That's the last thing we
going.
want to hear. That's the last thing we want to hear.
Total.
You want to
Did we have popcorn just a while ago? Or what? I mean, like you coughing like you got a kernel in your throat, or you got a hair fur ball. I mean,
Nor do we want to see cut marks either. Like, do
no.
it properly. Have it done properly. You know,
Yeah.
get the right tools for the job. Or have
Manscaped,
it done
shameless
properly.
plug. They can send me one. I want one. Manscaped makes the whole kit for it. And I have told these guys time and time again, if you got $2 dick, put it in $2 underwear. You know, if you think you got a better product, you wrap that damn thing in a whole lot nicer package.
Sure.
That's
I mean, I like silk boxer shorts, but
that's it. Hey, silk.
I just have to put this comic.
JP said you got to go deeper. JP said you got to clear the airway. If that's the case, you go. If that's the case, JP, just go behind the maneuver. That'll cough it up.
well, it's kind of like sticking your head in a bush and looking for a snake.
Yeah, hey, you'll find when you look hard enough, you will find the snake.
I mean,
if you trim it back, it does look bigger. It might look like a mole rat, but
it does look bigger when you're shaved. It really does.
And it's the same with women. Men don't want to have to, like, you know, get the curtains.
No, the 80s, you don't want to go.
You don't want to take your combs.
No,
just pick it back, you know.
Yeah.
And you look.
So that's side by side go.
But there are guys out
like
there.
Mike going.
But there are guys out there that do like women to have a bit of fuzz. They still do.
And, you know,
but I mean, you can have hair, but have it manicured. You know what I mean?
No. And this whole TikTok trend about full bush in a bikini. These people.
No, I'm saying, you know, you can have hair, but it's not like, you know, an afro like who was it? Buckwheat.
Yeah,
you know,
hey, Mike,
going every
Mike,
which way.
I asked you, did you bring the kitty with you? All of them?
Yeah. Oh no. Ooh, Lord of mercy.
What are you saying, Michael? What are you actually saying?
I'm saying I am not going to go in the bush bird hunting. All right. I don't hunt no more.
That's funny, JP.
No, and I'm like, no, and it's like, no. And these women.
Okay, we'll say a fishing worm then.
Yeah, fishing worm. But anyway, where they're posting pictures in these skimpy ass bikinis in a full like 1970s Chewbacca in a headlock type bush. I'm thinking, honey, somebody lied to you. You're just lazy. Trim that shit. Go.
Some men like that.
And they're
tell him, Mike can tell you. Mike will tell you, grab the neck and lose that half. That's Mike's motto.
Oh, hell yeah. I got a pair of old beard trimmers. I ain't going to use them on my face again. If you need help.
But I mean, I'm saying, you know, everybody likes different things.
Oh, no. You know, I still got a pretty steady hand. You know, I want nick a lip. You know what I'm saying? Just hold still. I help you take care of that if you got problems.
Hell, Val's nickname, well, Wendy's nickname might be called the Hacker.
The hacker, whatever. I don't know what that was, but anyway.
And then the conversation just went down a completely different way.
Yeah.
Like,
we turned a corner somewhere.
Okay. Let me pull us out of the drink.
Yeah, look what you got on here.
Water work. Trim your shit and present yourself in the best possible light.
Absolutely. And the other thing is,
if you're working at 3 inches,
if you're like in your 50s, late 40s, or whatever age you are, and you're single and you're going out on a date, and it's your first date or the first time you're going to sleep together, there are some things that you know it's going to happen. It's like, as Michael says, you can have your kit,
just in case.
But the same as a woman, you want to have that as well. But it's also, women and men obviously have very different needs and wants, like we all do. Yeah. But I think the thing is, as we get older, I think we need to take away the pressure of we're not 40, we're not 30, we're not 20. We're over that age gap now. Our bodies have got some issues. unless you got someone who's super fit. I mean, I dated someone recently, super fit, very, very fit, no problems in any department. And literally, that's a rarity. That's a rarity that somebody of our age group could be that fit, because most people have got, we've got arthritis or we've got hormonal
But you
issues.
don't know if he doesn't tell you. You don't know if he's hiding anything. He may be on, 45 medicines that,
No, he's
that
not.
we don't know about.
He wasn't on any of them. And I think
the picture and the medication that's what I'm saying. Look in the medicine cabinet and you will see what kind of crazy you're dealing with. And like you said,
but if you want to have the best sex of your life, you've got to be in the best condition, because as in the best condition you can possibly be, because I don't mean you can go from 0 to 100. What I mean is that if you want to have an active sex life with your partner, or you want your sex life to get back on the way things were, you've got a responsibility to, as a lover, as a partner, to get yourself up there, to make yourself look good, right? Dead Dick Rod here from Black Diamonds DPS. I have no clue who that is.
Hey, Rod.
Dead Dick Rod here. How you doing?
It's Rodney. That's a friend of mine.
That's a hell of a handle.
A very good name there.
Michael, Wimpy.
I don't know, but you ain't going to expect a football coach here, American football or cricket or rugby in the UK. If you're not putting the effort in to be a good player, your coach ain't going to put you in.
No.
And what I'm saying, I'm like Valerie told everybody, I'm 53 years old. I will wear the shirt that says one man gangbang. Come on, honey, let's go. Put me in, coach. I got one more. Like I said, what better way to go out? And and it's like, but no, I'm like, but like you said, mental health, physical health, and a lot of times mental health will screw somebody's libido up really bad. And a lot of the medications for like PTSD or depression will kill sex drive.
Yeah, they will.
So like I said, and it's a bigger
and
thing.
Diabetes as well, because as we talked about earlier on, diabetes is the medication from that can really do it.
Yeah, every time I see that, I think of that Wilford Brimley, adult onset diabetes. And it's JB said, I'm not a hardened killer fit anymore. Ain't none of us, JP, but that's what I'm saying. Can't be the killer, but I can be the heartbreak and the thriller, so I just changed my SOP.
It's interesting though, because as I've got older, maturer, should I say, it's almost like my body was completely normal, right? And then 3 years ago it went, and completely changed it. And
your warranty runs out, and everything just goes all to hell.
That's what.
And
it's get an extended warranty.
Well, I missed my chance. I guess I didn't get the extended warranty.
But going back to the comments of what some of these women have wrote, someone says, my libido is virtually non-existent. My husband only needs to touch me and I get UTI or cystitis, which is so common for women because...
what the hell's he touching her with?
Well, obviously, the main man, but it's because it's so painful. And obviously, then maybe she's not using estrogen gel or whatever. It's causing these issues. And I have a friend of mine who's going through something like this, and she says, "Wendy, I don't feel like a woman. I'm too frightened to have sex. I want to have sex with him so badly, but I'm too frightened to have sex with him because it hurts so much. And then I'm back at the doctor. I'm having a UTI. I've got cystitis." I mean, and you just go, why should we do that?
Sounds like she needs to go to the doctor and have something done for that.
Yes,
run a test. It could be the soap that he washes his man parts with.
True,
because it goes in. And
I mean, there's so many different reasons.
Yeah, cause and effect. Investigate. And it's like some
never
people
thought about that before. That's a very good point. If they put in,
they need to get. The doctor needs to get to the root of the problem. No pun, but needs to find out why she's doing that. See, I found out I was doing the same thing back when I was in my 20s. It was if I had sex and he used a condom, I had terrible pain. Went to the okay. I found out I was allergic to latex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't find that out until I had my first daughter.
Yeah.
That I was allergic to latex.
And
Yeah,
then what
so-
happens is you have excuses to not have sex.
So all those years that I was in so much pain because of the condoms.
Yeah.
But I didn't go to the doctor and tell them, because I just thought, oh well, it was whatever.
Yeah.
If I had went a long time ago, I would have figured it out.
Yeah. That goes back to yourself, yourself, whatever, like your self evaluation. You know, if you know what's normal for you, and and the human body can get used to a lot of normal that is not normal. Excuse me. And no, like I said, you
Right.
gotta-
I mean, Jay brings up a really good point here. Spermicide in condom, lubricants, all cause problems. Body chemistry. Sometimes, I mean, there are people that are allergic to their partners. They
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And that would really suck.
She's allergic to his man parts. And,
No pun intended.
Yeah,
But there's a comment here. She says, I'm 54. My boyfriend is 55. We've been together 6 years. I have known him since high school. We have sex all the time, most of the weekend, and twice a day. You just have to let go and do it. And I'm like, oh my God, whenever she's taking it, I want to bottle and sell it, please.
We'll put that under Terry's Bigfoot Toys and Emporium. But no, it's like I said, you got to know your body. And if you're with somebody, take interest and know what their body's doing also to help you understand.
Sure.
And also there's a point that you see a lot of older men with younger women, right?
Yeah.
Because the younger women have they've got great bodies, they've got great figures and everything, right? Whereas the older women with a younger guy, like when Demi Moore got with Ashton Kutcher, it was like, oh, what, she's dating a younger guy. But I mean,
oh Lord, I thought Ken was fighting bees for a second.
No, my screen was real greasy looking. The camera.
I thought he was doing cartwheels or something.
That's what I'm saying.
I was practicing. Leave me alone. I was practicing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ken's over there doing cartwheels after sex.
Oh my God, this is such a great subject, and I really hope that we've managed to tick a few boxes with this conversation tonight, because it could run and run, and I'm sure there are a lot of people that could watch this and actually say, I get it completely where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And I hope that we've helped some people as well, right?
And I do think, sorry, Michael, I do think that people really need to open up a discussion more and talk to friends, doctors, and their significant other, because you too, Ken.
Yeah.
And about it, and it's not as taboo as people think it is. I think it's an important conversation, especially in relationships.
There's just a final comment here, and it says, ladies, I suggest you look into bioidentical hormones made for each individual based on your needs. After some tests to determine they are made especially for you at a compounding pharmacy. Bioidenticals are made from plant extracts, and your body doesn't fight them like they do with chemical ones. Check out the books by Suzanne Summers. I've heard her name mentioned quite a few times when it comes to menopausal stuff. And remember, your largest sex organ is in your brain. Utilize it and use it, and start thinking positive about your sexuality and your body, and the rest of it will follow. Very good comment.
Well, this is a guy who's not, but anyway. No, Valerie brought up a word, and I was thinking taboo. Everything is taboo. That's what people used to say when they did not want to discuss something that made them feel uncomfortable. Everything was taboo. If you want to be a happy, productive person, be open and be, it's a team activity. Can you do it by yourself? Yeah, but is it as much fun? Fuck no. It's better if everybody that's playing on the team knows what's going on with the other player.
But I think that's one reason we started the show.
Yeah,
was to kind of get the taboo out into the open.
that's
Yeah.
it.
And give people a place to discuss things, or just to listen to us discuss things that people are kind of too shy to talk about, or
None of us have that issue.
they think that it is, they're going to be looked at different if they talk about certain things.
But I also think that women prefer, sorry, Mike, just for I can, women prefer non-crudity.
Yeah.
Women prefer sultry, sexy, sensual, and maybe hints, but not crudity. That doesn't do anything for us. No,
but what I was going to say is what Valerie said. When y'all started this, I've had people tell me, "Oh, Michael, I cannot believe you said that as a man." On a show, I'm like, be honest with yourself. I said, people know if you're lying.
Yeah.
I said, my life has been put on display so much. I said, wait till you read the book. I won't change no names. Fuck them. And I said, I like you said, I do this to show other men it's okay to talk about if you have issues here, here, here. Everybody's been cheated on, but you have a lot of men like, not me. I'm so much of a man. She'll never cheat on me. You know what I'm saying? It happens.
Because you don't know about it.
That's it. She's with she's with the pool boy, and you're paying him.
But I feel like there are a lot of things that women go through, and they feel embarrassed to talk about.
What is
to anybody?
What is it? All the bad stuff happen when it starts with the word man, menopause.
Well, I mean,
men on pause. Men on pause.
I mean, history stands for itself, but I feel like having a place to just say what everybody's thinking and have it discussed, it makes it less, taboo.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point of Wicked Women, wasn't it? It was the fact that we wanted to do a podcast by women, for women, invite the guys to come on and give them their point of view, because men are learning something, so are women. We're learning from the guys, they're learning from us. But I think, the problem is there are some things we can't say on this particular channel. We cannot use certain words and stuff like that.
That's why we'll be going to Rumble.
And there is potential we could actually go on to Rumble and then show it on YouTube as well, because I think that there are things that people say, why don't you go a bit further, why don't you say a bit more? Well, because we can't. We have to be very careful.
We have to be very nice on here.
Yeah. And they put the buffer like the guardrails up that keeps you right in. There's a lot of words, and I think I went over it with Wendy and Valerie both. There's like 2,800 words that will get a video flagged on YouTube.
And we have actually used some of those words in our podcast
and got away with it.
But either they were just thinking, well, I'll give you but actually we've actually had a few black marks because some of the pictures that I maybe put up.
Too sexual.
There was a picture of Madonna, I think, in a certain bra.
With
and
her,
what was it?
Her coney bra.
Yeah, and they actually gave us a red flag and said, you can't use that. And there was another one of another picture I used of a guy with his hands around a woman, and she just had nothing on. You couldn't see anything, but they were like, no. And so we've had to learn along the way. So some things we have to skirt around because we're not allowed to use. And people go, why don't you mention that? Because we can't.
That's why we use the innuendos.
We use the little words around it, but it's been really fun, and we do promise. I mean, we touched slightly on it tonight about when we talk about the battery operated boyfriends, but actually we're not just looking at Bob's. We're looking at where did the history of sex toys come from?
Oh, actually,
come from?
Egypt and Greece.
Yeah. Cleopatra had a gourd that she hollowed out and put bees in it for vibration.
What?
Do you know that the reason Ken knows that is because he's nasty?
Yeah, he knows. He's nasty. Terry's naughty. Yeah. Tell him
Are
how
you
naughty they
naughty?
are. Yeah, he's
Ken is
naughty.
nasty.
Nasty. Yeah, he's nasty, and Terry's naughty. They use all the N words.
And
That's.
and
I'm just pointing the obvious. There's no
There's a quote from a very well-known American comedian. I don't know if Wendy heard him or not. Red Fox. Red Fox said the only cure for being a dirty old man was to be a dead old man, and who the hell wants that? And he also said, "Wash your ass. Watch him on YouTube." You know what I'm saying?
Very true point.
and that one still rings true today
That's it.
So true.
Soap works. You
100%.
use your pheromones.
because you gotta wash your ass.
Wash your ass.
You know, what about with people that in the hot weather they don't use deodorant?
Oh yeah.
Like, or they don't check their socks or their feet, and you're like, you need to you need to take a shower.
And they put cologne on with no deodorant.
That's it.
That's a whole combination.
And here's what gets me. You know, we got DGs here everywhere. When you finally get over here, we're gonna take you unless you have the full Dollar General experience. You'll see some hefty, big-breasted woman with like 40 kids. And when she gets up there and she's checking out, she'll reach in her bra and pull out money and lay it on the counter. And I'm like, holy fuck, I don't want to.
And did you know I've worked at those places, and that money that she pulls out of there is usually wet.
Oh, yeah, very much wet. You can wring water out of it.
Here too, right? We do. Like, don't get me wrong. We do. The ones I like are the girls that wear the leggings and they're see-through and they look like two pigs having a fight under the material. It's like, look, before you leave the house, check the mirror out because absolutely you look like crap.
Yeah, do the spin. You know, it always said the women that wear them kind of yoga pants don't even know what the fuck yoga is. They've never been to a gym.
Hey, I ain't gonna say anything because I wear them yoga pants.
But the thing is, like, I mean, I wear leggings too, but I'm telling you, you won't see anything through mine because, you know,
of course, I usually have a shirt over them, but still.
What do you think is statistically of it has been?
If I show you a part of my body, it's done on purpose.
JP. Yeah.
You know, I don't do it not because, you know, but having said that, I think that
in the summer,
is it?
Do show.
Is it?
Don't talk about it. Show it.
Yeah.
That's
of course, you're just saying. I'm just saying. I haven't said that in so long, Ken. I've missed your show because I got out.
He's lazy. He won't get up and do it no more in the mornings.
Yeah, what's going on, Ken?
Yeah, he's lazy. That's what it is.
No, I'm trying to find another format. I'm done with Facebook.
I told you I'd help you.
I told you on here you can use this, but you don't.
No, like I said, old and set in his ways.
Oh, Ken, I miss. The thing is, you can only have 4 people on Facebook, which makes it incredibly frustrating. So you have to come on. This is so easy to use once you know. Scotty and Mark kind of showed me what to do when I started this, and now I'm, you know, it comes second nature. But once you know what you're doing, it's so easy, and people just join you and come on. And now it's great. But
the hardest part is movie maker, and right now I'm fighting this movie maker for your promos. And if you're going to do it every day, you're going to have to take a couple of hours to make a promo every day to make sure it's right, or you have glitches. But JP brings up a good point. How many dollar bills have been in a G-string of a stripper?
True. Very true.
Guess how much
which I don't care.
Money has some illegal
substances
on it.
Booger sugar. That's what Bigfoot said.
Get a black light flashlight and shine on it. Put a black light on that dollar bill, you'll see all kind of stains.
Hey, I got
when I used to work at a bank, and end of the day, my hands look like a coal miner.
It's money's one of the nastiest
so bad. I've had to shred money because it had biological.
It's weird. I've never
stuff on it.
You've actually said that, and now it's going to haunt me. I've never held a £5 note or a tenner or a 20 or even a 50 in those days, and gone, I bet someone used this to snort something or cut something up. I've never thought about that until now, but now I'm going to.
It's I've had it come. The bills were red, so I've had to shred them.
Nasty.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, as I say, it's been a great show, and Val, you survived it, even though it's hot as hell, and we're about to return to that weather. Not looking forward to that. Not in this place whatsoever. Ken, will you be back this week at all, or not at all?
It's possible. It's possible. I'm trying to do something this week if possible. But yeah, I like to get back. I've been talking to some of the people, and not that I get a lot of people, but yeah, I'll probably come back. Talk trash.
That would be good. And Scotty, I know I haven't spoken to him. I must message him, because I know he wasn't too well, but I really think it feels really weird not seeing Scotty on here. Like, there was a community, and now there's just very small, just us really now. And we were gone for a long time. But Scotty, I really hope you come back soon. Oh, he has one. Look, there it is.
Hey, Ken, when she says £5 note, it's like a $5 bill for us Americans.
I have to send you one with Charles on it.
I got
Charles.
And on the back, the reason I like him, my hero, Winston Churchill.
But you know that they're changing that now. The stupid Bank of England's like, put your ideas on a postcard. We're going to put different people on the back now.
There's a tenner, and it's got, they got cool money. So yeah, all my.
You haven't got a 20 yet.
No.
But
like I said, even the coins are cool. You know what I'm saying? That's what I tell people.
And you know what we thought, just on a side note, we have to fight to keep money. We must never let them take money away from us, because if they do take money from us, we will be in a very bad place. We need cash. We need cash to stay here, not be taken away in digital currency or anything like that. We need cash. And I think if we all fight for it, then it'll make it harder for them. I just want to say, Val and I always let Val have the final word, but I just want to say thank you to everybody that came on here and put little comments on. Thanks for joining us. For KB for popping on and seeing that little face back again with a smile. And Michael, thank you as forever with your input on, guys. And we ask other guys to come on here as well. Like, don't be shy. We won't bite much,
But, yeah, just a tad.
Depends on your level.
That's it. Yeah. Hey, bring a safe word. Mine's kumquat. I've never said that, but you know what I'm saying. And I tell them it's fun to interact, to kill taboos, to be open. And I was thinking, damn, I hope she don't say words of wisdom. I ain't had none of that in a long time.
Like she said, like she said, they're not vitals. That's just plain old fuck. I'm just saying.
I don't know what that was.
I'm just saying.
Just saying.
And you need to come back. You need to have your show on. You need to do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday and Thursdays, right? Because we all miss your show being on. And Scotty, I hope it's not, if you're watching this or you're listening, I hope it's not before you're back.
Oh, before I forget, we need to keep Carlene's husband, Uncle Everett, in our thoughts and positive.
Look, he's okay. I'll tell you what, Mike. He went to Hooters. And I think I called him and said they banned him from Hooters because he was sitting on a high stool. And old as he is, it was too much for him.
Really?
So I think I think they banned him from Hooters.
Yeah. Booty shorts and low tops about did Uncle.
Yeah,
I think
that's kind of what I thought too.
Still be alive. You know what I mean?
No. On a positive note, the man and lady that actually did CPR that brought him back around, thank them very much.
Yeah.
Because he is a kind soul. But that's what I thought. But that's what I thought. I just thought, and I even asked him today when I talked to him on Facebook, on Messenger. I'm like, "What happened? Did you get overstimulated?" And he just kind of laughed. But but they said he was fine. 1 minute, next thing you know, Carlene's racking his jaws trying to get him to respond, and he wouldn't. And the lady said, we need to get him in the floor. His lips are blue. And you don't want to hear about blue lips because that means there's no oxygen and no blood circulating. So, but Uncle Everett, I know, is a huge fan of all of us. He is.
Well, soon, Everett.
That's it. He is the quiet side of him and Carlene. You know what I'm saying? They're both lovely, but
Carlene, you take care of that man. Look after him. Take care of him. Because you know what? Life's really short. 1 minute you're here, next minute you're gone. And all the things that you think, are so important right now, when someone's gone, they're actually really not that important. You need to say that. And like my dad had a heart attack. He had 2 heart attacks recently. And literally, it was a bit of a shock to the system. I have to say that. You never know what's around the corner. So love that person, even if they drive you mad at times.
And the other day he was telling me, I really want to go home. The food here sucks. I need to go home so Carlene can feed me. And I thought, this man has stopped breathing, and the only thing he's thinking about is his wife's cooking. I'm thinking, like you said, life is short and simple. It is.
What are you doing, Ken?
It's raining so hard, I'm swimming.
He's swimming, yeah.
You were what?
I was doing back to all this rain coming in.
Oh, rain. Well, you can keep the rain, Ken.
You better get your butt in the house.
You're going to get
Yeah, Ken, we don't want you shrinking because you get wet.
No.
Yeah,
They said
then my voice gets real high.
He floats when
he floats. Yeah, he floats.
Oh my God. Anyway, Val, I'll leave you to have the final word. Have a great week from me, from London. Hopefully I will be here next week. I really don't know. I have to say I'm 50-50 on that one, but you'll know because the promo will come out sometime if I'm going to be here or we're going to be here. So from me, thank you. Val, off you go, girl. Hit it.
I too want to thank everybody for coming, and I do want to remind everybody to hit those buttons, like, share, subscribe, comment.
There we go.
Send us, if you know anybody that wants to come watch us or come on the show, or anybody that we should bring on the show. Any ideas on, the subjects you want to bring to the show, please just PM us and let us know. We'll be back next Sunday, hopefully. And we'll just figure out something else to talk about.
We always have a subject.
That's it.
Yes. But I do want to thank everybody, and hopefully you'll come back next Sunday and we can talk about something else. But everybody have a good week.
If you guys wanted to stay put for a minute while I take us out, and and we'll see you all soon. Bye. Where's me thing? Here it is.